So, John, coherent communication's been around for a long time. So CFP2-DCO is probably not a new product, but, what's been your experience working with, coherent and CFP2-DCO, and what benefits and challenges do you think it presents to operators?
Sure. So CFP2-DCO was probably the first pluggable coherent technology that existed on the marketplace. So prior to this module, most of the coherency existed in the host platform, whether it was a transmission platform like a DWDM shelf or line card, or a router or switch itself. The coherency, the mathematical capabilities existed kind of in the line card or in the shelf. And so you saw that with the CFP-ACO and technologies kind of prior to the DCO. And in DCO technology, the idea was to put the coherent DSP and processor into the pluggable module. And ideally, the cost of entry would be lower for a network operator to buy the shelf or chassis, because you were paying for the DSP as you actually lit the port and inserted the pluggable optic. And so it kind of brought the barrier of cost of entry down for the operator on the platform. But it also meant every time you needed to turn up a new port, the cost to turn up that port was more expensive. So it became less of a pay up front and more of a pay as you grow. What was the premise behind CFP2-DCO? The adoption has been kind of lackluster. So you can find with almost all of the major equipment manufacturers a couple of platforms or line cards in each of their portfolio that support CFP2-DCO. But I wouldn't describe it as the most widely deployed socket on the marketplace. And usually it's only in more expensive systems to start with. And the concept is IP over DWDM. So you skip the DWDM shelf and you basically have an IP device, a router or a switch outputting tunable wavelengths into usually a gridded DWDM system. So it's there, it works, it's tried and true. Those modules are expensive and they need quite a bit of power because the module itself's got a DSP. You have limited selection, I think, in your OEM platforms in terms of compatibility or a socket. But good news is ProLabs has you covered. If CFP2-DCO is in your technology roadmap, we've productized and been shipping that product for quite a while now. Ray, you want to talk a little bit about our compatibility with DCO and non-DCO ports and kind of the value proposition that ProLabs has over perhaps a competitor?
Yeah, absolutely. So, ProLabs has invested heavily into providing OEM compatible CFP2-DCO optics. So we've got systems in-house where we can test CFP2 Cisco, CFP2-DCO Arista, amongst other leading providers. Another thing too we can do in-house is, for ports that aren't DCO capable, we can pre-configure CFP2-DCO plug or transceiver in-house to any given wavelength the customer may want and make it compatible with a non-DCO port as well and ship it to the customer in that manner and provide them with the advantages perhaps of longer reach and the DWDM aspect of it. I think be one of the primary benefits there. That's one of the areas of value we can also provide.
So conceptually, like an extended compatibility, if you will, for systems that where an OEM may not provide a DCO solution.
That's exactly it, right.
So, pros and cons of this, pros, it's pay as you grow. It has very long reach, so 80 kilometers native, but with coherency, many of these can go thousands of kilometers in an optical line system without regeneration. Lots of kind of the ultimate in flexibility and tunability. Cons, really high cost per port, pretty significant power consumption compared to other 100 gig transmission technologies, and limited options, just the number of OEM platforms that have the socket. Ray, is that a pretty good summary on CFP2-DCO?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the challenges many of our service provider customers have is just, on top of that, it's on CFP2-DCO, it's the cost per port. I think, there's additional licensing fees and things like that. Every OEM is a little bit different in how they provide it. So, those are all those different costs all weigh into the overall TCO of the product.
So the pay-as-you-grow isn't just the module, but perhaps a per-socket licensing for the coherency software. So the DSP is on the module, but the DSP needs a software component from the host. And,
right.
And some of these, the vast majority of these OEMs are charging for that functionality in a licensing model.